Howdy, everybody. Bob Tallman for No Spin Rodeo. No politics, no BS, just hard-hitting news and rodeo commentary from two of the most trusted sources in our sport. Kendra Santos, Tommy Joe Lucia. Listen up. Here we go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to No Spin Rodeo, the 10th edition of the podcast featuring Kendra Santos and myself, Tommy Joe Lucia. We're happy to be here in the home of the Cowboys, the South Point Hotel and Casino, right by the gold carpet, and right across from the Coronado, the breakfast cafe where all the problems are worked out. Good morning, Greg Teagarden, our
Good
producer.
morning, Tommy.
Good morning, Kendra.
Good morning. We're getting winked at by Benny Binion's horse, which is pretty cool. That's exactly where we are, a wink from his horse.
That statue's iconic. I wonder how many millions of pictures have been taken.
Yeah.
And how cool is this? Stetson Wright walks by, swings by, photobombs us. This is a good haul.
This is a great haul.
This is a great place to see people, and we're excited because guess what? We're kicking this thing off. In 24 hours, some decisions been made, and we're kicking off this NFR. How about that?
I wore red today in celebration. It's my Christmas coat, and it's like we get to start the finals. This is like Christmas to us.
Now, can we hear Kendra out there?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it is your Christmas coat. You know, like I said, you have all the First Lady coats. Now, I have a question. I'm going to ask both of you this, and then because I think people might be interested. Our routines when we're in Vegas are a little bit probably different than everybody else that comes to enjoy the NFR. So I think little tidbits of, what's that one thing that the secret shortcut you take or this or that? Kind of think of one thing that you do here that's unique or a tip maybe for our fans that are coming into Vegas or that are already here or are sitting at home wondering. But, I'll give you an example. So I stay at the Grand View across from the South Point. I have a little secret path I go. I usually grab the $1.50 hot dog on my way back to the room, right back there, cross the street and go in there. It takes me exactly 11 minutes to get from this point to there. And with all of the events that we do in South Point, that's one of the big things. Another example is from the South Point, in case you're wondering, from the South Point to Thomas and Mack, go through the airport bypass. That's what we all do. And stay in the far right lane, get in the far right lane, get honked at by Uber, stay in the far right lane, you hit Tropicana, and you're in.
I know, but I'll tell you this. Going through that tunnel between here and the Thomas and Mack, the way we go, every single day, Oat is, as he
there
says,
goes the clown family.
Driving Miss Daisy. Oh, the Triple Crown clown family.
Winner.
Triple Crown winner, yeah.
We go through that tunnel, and every single day people are honking, and I have this weird Princess Diana. Every day I say this to Oat, oh my God, Princess Diana, am I going to make it through here? It is a weird flashback thing of seeing the footage of that tunnel. I don't know why it does that to me every single day.
It's really dark in there too.
It's kind of a creepy tunnel, and you lose everything for about an eighth of a mile. Radio, phone, everything. You can kind of plan on that. But by the way, it cuts off.
Okay, and on tunnels that are hacks here this week, Oat and I learned a new one yesterday, that the walk at Cowboy Christmas is huge. From where, if you want to go from the Junior World Finals to the Cowboy Channel stage where I'm helping with a show every day, for example, it's a very long walk, and we made it twice yesterday. Then we learned the hack that there is a Tesla
tunnel.
It's another tunnel.
Yep.
And this time,
second one?
This time,
or is it the regular Tesla tunnel?
It's the Tesla tunnel that goes under the convention
but
center.
it's amazing. It's free, and you go through this, and it's all these different psychedelic colors as you're going through the Tesla tunnel, and they're playing Driving Through the Danger Zone. And we got the giggles yesterday, but it saves a lot of steps.
Now, do you sit in a Tesla? I haven't went.
You jump in a Tesla, and they go. It's sort of like an airport that has a tram that cuts off 5,000 steps, and you just step into a Tesla. in the back seat.
Are they driverless too?
No, there's a driver, and he did
driver?
ask us to buckle up. But you go through this tunnel of psychedelic colors, and you're like, it's like the Twilight Zone, but it saves you 5,000 steps.
Well, and because they've kind of reimagined the convention center, right? So it's a pretty good walk from where they're having the youth rodeo, right? The
Junior World
Finals over to the new layout. And by the way, they did. In case you didn't know, they didn't just do that because they thought it was a good idea. A good part of their space was under construction for office space. So formerly where Flint Stage was, that whole back, that's all offices now. So they had to do some major redesign. But I'll tell you what, I hear for all of the staff and people of Junior World Finals, the new venue is going to be much, much easier to get in and out of.
Well, what's cool about that, and Oat and I do the steer wrestling at the Junior World Finals, and what's really great is in the last few years, the kids, it's like one event, it's like synchronized swimming. Like one event, you'd have to pull up this ramp, unload your horse, there's nowhere to warm up, haul butt, you've got to clear out the minute your event's over for the next people to come in, and it was really chaotic and stressful. And now it's no longer like that. Like you can actually, your parents can come with you, that everybody can stay together. Nobody has to be like before. It was like the parents had to sit in the truck, and it was crazy. So this is a much better for the contestants.
I heard it was going to be, I haven't been over there, but I heard it was going to be much more, a lot easier ingress, regress for everybody, livestock, everything. So we're glad with that. Well, so I think, Greg, what, you're working on all kinds of shows all over here. Any secret sauce you have?
Stay away from the interstate. The traffic in this town is everywhere. And the little secret I found was I can go 2 blocks to the west of the interstate up this road called Decatur, and I can get from here to the Gold Coast in about 15 minutes.
Wow.
So, and there's everything you could want, grocery store, any kind of stores. It's all along that road. There's probably 5 traffic lights between here and there.
Really?
Writing that down.
She's right. Kendra's right. So instead of taking a right on 15 North, you just jump over, go a couple streets.
You go a couple streets, and then take a right, and it zooms right up.
That sounds good.
And there's no construction either.
That sounds good. Well, so let's talk about, we talked yesterday's show. We didn't know. We understood that they were having meetings. Remember, if you're not here because of the tragic loss of life and situation at the UNLV campus, the first performance of the NFR on Thursday was at that point canceled and to be determined. And so we have the answer now. They've told us what they're going to do. And it's interesting to me, but I'll let you fill all of our listeners in, and then we'll have a brief conversation about what they landed on.
So the bottom line is round 6, there will now be 2 rounds. The makeup round is Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock in the morning. The Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association and Las Vegas Events went into closed-door meeting and came up with this, but I guess I absolutely applaud the fact that it will be 10 rounds. I will say up front that I've had a lot of people with comments on social media ask, well, why didn't they just, instead of having 2 rounds in one day, why didn't they just have it on Sunday, at the end? And I did get an answer that on Sunday, I believe, is a UNLV graduation. So that was off the table. That was at least.
Remember, they've got to get the entire show has to leave the building typically on Sunday. All the dirt, everything has to be out because there's scheduled activities.
For the next thing.
Exactly. So, and Sunday, there's not only that operational thing, but everybody's tickets, right? I mean, rescheduling room blocks. In this town, in case you didn't know, Amazon's here, and I mean, we're not the only show in town.
Right, and so on the logistics, on some basic housekeeping items, everyone with a ticket from round 1, season ticket holders are being refunded by Las Vegas Events. and everyone else that has a round one ticket, you will be refunded through StubHub. Although I do also understand that when you get into a case of like, I bought the round one ticket and then I sold it to you and then you sold it to Greg, and then the original buyer is who has a shot at getting their money back. So that's a little bit of a complication. But anyway, also on the housekeeping, it is my understanding that contestants, stock contractors, and sponsors each get to bring 10 people to the 10 a.m. Wednesday morning. That is my understanding. And people with NFR credentials, people like me in media, we also will be allowed to attend.
Yeah, we can go over that a little bit. First off, it would have been easier for them to just do 9. It just, from everybody's standpoint, that would have been the easiest. So I applaud. I understand that there was pretty intense conversations about this. And you also have to understand, and I'm going to paraphrase this a little bit, but this is an interesting crowning event, right, for the series, in that in other sports, like the NFL and stuff like that, I believe that those leagues underwrite and control the Super Bowl. I don't know all the specifics, but this one's a little unique. And remember, I said it in an earlier podcast, there's an actual committee for this rodeo. This is the largest rodeo, but it operates more in the normal fashion of there's a committee, right, that funds this event. And the PRCA, while they're prominent, and I think a prominent partner with UNLV and the Las Vegas events, they don't have the ultimate say, because the event writes a huge check, Las Vegas does, and they've extended that. And with that comes some control and power. And Michael Gaughan, who hosts us here, thank you, Michael, and Mr. Growney, I read an article where he kind of responds to the decision. And one of the things that I thought was interesting, the first thing that I was like, well, if you're going to have a performance, why wouldn't you have patrons? You know it's going to sell out, right? Even if someone had to go home, right? And so why wouldn't you have patrons? And operationally, wouldn't be easy, but you can do a morning and because their show's a little earlier in the evening because everybody gets back to the casinos. But you could, it would cost you a lot of money, you could convert and do 2 shows a day. It's been done before. And it sounds like part of that was that so many, they study the traffic flow. So many people were planning to be out of town that it was like 2/3, right? That would have missed out. So I think it was easier for them to do a refund. I'm just really glad. I'm glad that they're doing 10 rounds. Now, the way I understand it, Kendra, you might make sure that I'm correct. The stock pins and everything basically goes in order. So while today would typically be round 2, it will be round 1 and all of those items. Like, I don't even know what pin is it today in the bareback riding.
I feel like you have to do that, though. Tonight is round 1.
Yeah, it's round 1.
And Wednesday morning will be round 6.
So after that, Thursday, then we're kind of back on track with what you expect to happen in that round, because that's what's so interesting about this is the matchups of the livestock and the guys and their strategies. And so I kind of feel bad that on Cowboy Channel that there's going to be an empty building. That feels, but I also understand that they said there was some significant savings in cleanup and production cost to not produce the entire event for public. And so, lots of decisions made, but the good news is the Cowboys and Cowgirls, Kendra, they didn't take it on the chin, and Las Vegas Events is writing a check to make sure that doesn't happen.
I think that's been my bottom line all along. That 10 rounds is what's best for the contestants who worked an entire year of hell to be here. So I'm very happy about that. And I I'll also say I do understand that it got pretty heated in those closed doors. And,
That's what I heard.
So when I passed Tom Glaus, the PRCA CEO, here in the hallway at the South Point, I just said, thank you for 10 rounds.
Yeah.
And he said, I just believe that the NFR is represented by 10 go rounds as much as the Super Bowl is 4 15-minute quarters and the World Series is a best of 7 series. Anything less was not an option for me. And I, on behalf of my cowboy and cowgirl friends and all their families, the rodeo family, that's a really big deal. And I'm very grateful. I think it's the best possible outcome for the people who matter most to me, and that's the contestants, the stock contractors too. I mean, everybody who's on the inside of the storm here, it's tough. I know people are like, they don't get to go, but their moms and dads and grandparents get to go, and they get the legitimacy of 10 rounds. Your game plan, your strategy you've formulated for months now on how you're going to go at it does not change. It's, I think it's the best possible outcome.
Yeah, and I think there's probably, the things that hit my radar on this is the partners, for instance, in the fan zone and all around, these people that have activated in and around that event. They lose access to 10,000 people. And I'm sure PRC Properties is scrambling. Imagine, since that's not a public, let me give you an example. XYZ sponsor gets 75 tickets for the first perf. Well, by the way, there's not 75 tickets at any other round that they're just going to find and give to them. So there's a lot of this. This is hard on more than just the fan that lost out. It's everybody is taking it on the chin a little bit on this and sucking it up, and so.
But I think bringing up, it takes everybody
hello,
to
Cliff,
make
Cliff
this happen.
Blomquist, Colville, Utah.
I think it does take everyone's cooperation and as we always say, doing what's ultimately best for the sport, and by the way, without the sponsors, and without the stock contractors and without all the different entities, it doesn't happen for the contestants. So that's a huge thing. But like we said, that the patience and the goodwill that they were in a heated conversation, but ultimately they did what they thought was the best for the greatest good of the sport. And also, a really important point, I think, is that we all, some people were like, oh, this is BS, they're not, we don't get to all go to the 10 rounds and everything. But it's like, again, let's take a step back and recognize that people died right there in close proximity to where we're going to have this big rodeo. So if we go with the great scheme of life, let's have a little humanity and grace about us, that the show is going to go on. The contestants do get 10 rounds. That's important. And people had some really tough, a lot of compromises have been made and concessions have been made. And thank you to the sponsors who absolutely make this, $11.5 million possible. And my understanding, $25 million, dollars is part of the big picture moving forward, keeping this rodeo here through 2035. We can't take these things for granted, and we have to be good humans first and work together. And in the end, the people that were absolutely opposed in those closed door meetings yesterday morning that made this all happen, in the end, they shook hands and walked away, gentlemen.
Yep.
And that's appreciated.
Well, if you're sitting there licking your wounds and whining about how this impacts you, you're not building a box to put your child in. So get a grip.
Yeah.
Get a grip. And as a cowboy culture, there's a handful out there on social media and stuff, but we represent something a little different, and I challenge everybody that has hat and boots on. We represent some values, some integrity, and life was lost. The right thing was done. Absolutely the right thing. No doubt in my mind that performance should have been canceled, right? And I don't, how many would die, but get a grip, go on. We'll all be fine. Everybody will work through it. But I will say, congratulations to everybody for working through it and thinking as a whole.
Absolutely. And also, please remember, some people have been nitpicking wording. Thursday night's performance was canceled, but round 1 was not canceled. It was postponed.
Correct.
And that's a big difference. And having 10 full rounds makes this a complete whole NFR. And that's something to be very grateful for. And let's not split hairs about some of the details. But a lot of people compromised and gave up. Personal sacrifices were made to get us to this point.
Yeah. So I think there's right move, good move by everybody. Thanks for working together. You'll be able to watch that. It's Wednesday morning, that round. You won't be able to attend in case you got in the podcast late. They have rescheduled the round for Wednesday morning. I believe it's at 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
10 a.m. Pacific time.
It will be on the Cowboy Channel.
And it will be on the Cowboy Channel, so you'll be able to watch it. So if you're one of those people that watch Cowboy Channel 22 and a half hours a day, you'll have something unique in the morning to watch.
Absolutely. And, the casinos, it's not a bad deal for them. I'm assuming there will be a lot of...
Well, let me tell you, Thursday night for this place, they probably had to bring in a few more whiskey trucks because...
Oh, yeah.
If you remember, everybody kind of picks their night to turn it over, if you know what I mean. Well, they're like, hey, we got another night. I'll do it again.
I know. And that's absolutely true. And with the airborne for the 30 people, and I see you're on the Starbucks triple shot, we all do what we have to do. But in the elevators last night, that was the mood. We might not be able to get a rodeo, but let's go, boys. Because, so Las Vegas did not lose.
No, so it was good for them. It's still, there's, what may have happened too, there's so much to see here. And so often, we come in and we're kind of in our bubble, but the amount of entertainment, truth, the amount of entertainment that you have access to here is incredible. And when you hear these people say, well, they probably should have took it to Dallas, the truth is, you will not be bored in Vegas, and it's a good home for this event.
It's a great home for this event.
I agree.
And I don't think there's any denying that. And, things may or may not have changed, whatever, in Texas. And we'll always be grateful for 2020,
Absolutely.
the show going on in Texas.
Absolutely.
But this is a destination, and it's open 24 hours. And, millions of people come here, even when the NFR is not here, because there's cool. Unlimited things to do.
It's cool. Just bowling here at South Point is cool. So just in case, we're just recapping, there will be 10 rounds. In case you haven't read it or heard it or you had a rock on your head, Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock will be a not-for-public round that will be broadcast on the Cowboy Channel. And so in that's good news. Kendra and I are going to try to keep these podcasts daily to 30 minutes because we both have to run. Yesterday we went a little long. I do want to do a shout out for a couple awards. Ann Bleicher, who works with the WPRA and also is on the Piranha team, I want to congratulate her for the WPRA NFR Lifetime Achievement Award. Was presented to her yesterday. She's a amazing detail-oriented coordinator, essentially, of everything. And if you want to know a contact in Las Vegas after all of her years with Sean Davis, she can find you the green slipper in 15 minutes in Vegas that you can't find. So hats off to Ann. And
Ann also used to work for the PRCA media department at one time.
A lot of you people did.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Well, let's just get rid of the fresh... I'm not going to go there. Okay. And then, I did see another interesting award, and I don't know if everybody saw it, but, congratulations to Byron Walker. Looks like he got the Golden Douchebag Award somewhere along the way. it was on social media. I don't know what that is, but hats off. So
You did not just say that.
I just read it. I'm reporting news. I don't. Is that? Well.
Moving on.
Okay, moving on.
I have something that I thought was cool that happened yesterday. I have one tiny suitcase shoved in the corner of our hotel room because the Oatberries Junior Steer Wrestling World Championship is in town, and 2/3 of our room is boxes. It's saddles, buckles, cinch coats, Ariat coats. I mean, it's insane. Cactus saddlery saddles, 5 of them.
And this is for the steer.
This is and it's super cool. But I'll just say, with all the different things going on, like you mentioned, Tyler Barley is one of Oats' past champions in this Junior World Finals in the Oatberry Junior Steer Wrestling World Championship. He yesterday here at the South Point was the PRCA Permit Challenge, and Tyler Barley, who came up through what we do for these kids at the Junior World Finals, he was the champ yesterday. 40%ed him at the PRCA Permit Finals, which is really cool. And this is how these things go. Like, Bridger Anderson starts. He's at his second NFR. He was our first Junior World Finals champion of Oats
cool.
in 2017. Super cool. Dirk Webb. Oat and I produced the steer wrestling part of the Junior World Finals. Dirk Webb produces the tie down and the breakaway. Well, guess what? His son Riley worked his way same way up through like Bridger Anderson and Tyler Barley did. And Tyler Barley also, by the way, is running the extras over at the Thomas and Mack after the rodeo each day, which is super cool. It's like a stepping stone, another stepping stone, climbing the ranks. But Riley Webb, who set a dominating regular season earnings record, came up right here through the Junior World Finals. It's cool. These kids getting on big stages, like Oates says. I wish I would have had this. There was nothing like this for me,
Yep.
And it's now when these kids, when they do show up at the Thomas and Mack, they've been on the biggest, really big stages. It's not that big of a leap.
Well, they face that pressure.
It's fantastic. And it really, how our sport continues to evolve in every aspect, but it keeps getting tougher, tougher, tougher. Yes, conditions have changed, but it's also because these kids are exposed at a very young age to pressure.
Yeah.
And it's really, it's a pretty cool thing.
Well, the PRCA has done a good job with their youth program. The Utah Days of 47 Rodeo, we have a youth program. The industry needs to continue to put energy and money into the youth program because we're unique. The football deal, you start playing football as soon as you get out of diapers in a league, and there's millions of those all over, and we're very, very unique. But I tell you what, when the World Series comes here to South Point, you go up there, you will see no less than 66,000 young kids with ropes in their hands. By the way, I bet you can't walk through that arena without some
Being
little
roped.
tyke healing you along the way, and you just learn to pick up your foot and look back, and the little guy is like, I'm gonna be there someday.
Oh, when I see those kids, I jump right in front of them and I try to give them like the happy hopper and then the tricky
The
one.
drag
I
foot.
pull a leg. I've been trained well by my own sons, but it is so cool. And the area World Series of team roping up here right at the South Point. I mean, coolest thing for me last year is Guy Allen, who has won 18 gold buckles in the steer roping in the PRCA, second only to Trevor Brazil's 26. He won like a couple $100,000 in a lower numbered roping last year, heeling on a borrowed horse. He cried. I cried for him. It was the coolest thing ever. But, bringing people like Guy Allen, there are countless, one of the Fulmer brothers who roped here 10 or 15 years ago, I ran into him. There's, is Wade Sundell not roping here maybe? I mean,
I don't know.
it's
Yeah,
cool.
everybody.
It gives people a reason to come back to Vegas.
The way the World Series put together, Denny Gentry, I always said, is probably one of the smartest people in rodeo.
There's no doubt.
But the way they put that together gives opportunity for everybody with the handicap set up. And somewhere along the line in the next 10 days, we'll tell you some stories of World Series, some of the winners along the way that we saw that win several $100,000.
They'll
very,
win
very
more
cool.
than the guys at the Thomas and Mack.
They will, and but they're paying for it. Each one of them is paying a large entry fee, right? So it's the system.
I'm just saying it's cool because it doesn't matter if you're a grandmother, if you're 14, it's these additional opportunities for people at all skill levels. It's inclusive, and it's just doing nothing but building the Western Empire, which is good for all of us.
I agree. It's all very good. Now, in case you have never been to Vegas, I always like to kind of talk about some cool things that we all talk about. The South Point. This first week, you have early arrivals the first Saturday. I'll be here 3 weeks. When did you come in?
I came Monday, and I'll be here 2 weeks.
Yeah, so we'll be here 3 weeks. So the first group that comes to South Point is with the convention. And you see tons of groups of 3 to 15 that are rodeo committees. They look like Twinkies. They've all got their same shirts on. They've got their badges. They're walking in groups. And then you've got all of the performers and contract personnel hovering around like buzzards, trying to, fill up their date book for the next year. They've got the convention up there. And so you've got it's kind of the more nuts and bolts of the business that fills the South Point. I see more of my friends the first week, right? There's more conversation of closer friends. And then in South Point, like you said, with the Ariat World Series, it switches to, like, this becomes team ropers, a lot of team ropers here. And it kind of switches over to team roping. And then they tell me that there's actually 3 flights of groups that come into Vegas. The first weekend till Monday to Friday, and then the last weekend. So it's really unique. I mean, it'll be about a half a mile line to get in the Coronado when the team roping gets here every morning, starting at 6 o'clock. So
it's the spot.
It's a spot. Well, what kind of fun things are there? I know that Greg will be heading over to Anthony Lucia's show at the convention center. Is that right? And that's at 10:30. And you're going. Where are you headed today?
I will run straight from here. I will write a script. I will write a story for the Team Ripping Journal, and then I will go to the convention center, the Cowboys Channel stage. I'm helping produce a daily, it's called Rodeo Deep Dive, and it's hosted by Amy Wilson. And today it's going to be really cool, fun. I call this one Rookie Revolution. And we have...
a lot of bareback riders.
We have, yes, sir. We have Keenan Hayes, Cade Saunier, and Dean Thompson, who are contending for a world title. And, like so many other records this year, money records, Keenan... set one, and those guys are. It's yesterday we were talking about 1985 when it first came to Vegas, and Joe Beaver won the world as a rookie. Well, one of our guests today has a great chance. Any one of them.
Yeah,
it's pretty
absolutely
cool to have that many. It's like a kind of a changing of the guard, and Casey Field's not here, Tilden Hooper's not here. There's a few. There's some very hungry Leighton Berry, as I saw him in North Carolina the other day, and he's like, I'm young, I'm hungry, and I'm all in. And that's the mentality.
Well,
Rocker Steiner.
Yeah, well, when you're picking your fantasy teams, which we'll have to get into later, the bareback riding, there's some opportunity there.
Yeah.
But I think before this thing kicks off, we'll talk about our fantasy rodeo teams a little later. But I'm going to put everybody on the spot. I want you to pick the cowboy or cowgirl, each one of us now, that you think will win the most money collectively with the average in the NFR. And let's see who wins this. So here we go. And I'm gonna step out. The given is probably Stetson, but I'm gonna go
in one event. It has to be one event.
It has to be one event, because if we do total money, we know probably who's going to do that, right? But let's pick one event, right?
Okay.
And I'm going to go with Riley Webb.
Okay. That was the first thing that came to my mind. Just because this is his second finals.
Exactly.
And it pissed him off last year that it didn't go like
exactly.
He wasn't exactly himself, and he's had enough of that. So no. I'm not doing that.
So
because
you're
the first,
waving the white flag.
I know,
because I didn't let you go first. Do you want Riley? Do you want Riley?
That was the first thought I had.
Okay, you can have Riley.
No.
Greg, and I'm going to let you go second.
No. Just to be a sport, Josh Frost.
That's a good pick.
It's a great pick. And you know what? I love that kid. You know, my kids are related to the Frosts. Like Joe Frost, the Joe Frost we know that was a bull riding contender. Their grandpa, Joe Frost, married Lucille Carney. And so my kids and those boys have, like, they're cousins. And Josh Frost, when all this mayhem went down on Wednesday, and I was at the breakaway finals to cover that, and it all just, I didn't cover it and felt terrible, but we had to do a pivot because, shut down the Thomas and Mack. He's there with his wife, Erica, who is really coming on in the breakaway roping. And I'm like, Josh, he's always, just like Joe, just like Lane before them. The Frosts are like old school cowboys. There's not a prima donna bone in their body. Josh, remember, kept his 57 and got out of here with a fortune. Yeah. He's not going to let foolish pride wreck him. He believes he can ride every bull here. I know everybody, I love Stetson Wright. He's a great kid. But just for shits and giggles, because I'm going to say Josh Frost. He believes, and I just love his spirit. He's a great human.
That's a tough pick, not because of Josh, but of any other disciplines, right? With a guy like Stetson that's so consistent. Josh can be better than they've been in 10 years, and Stetson's they're going to be facing each other no matter what, because Stetson is that consistent and humble. It's
just like Joe Frost going head-to-head with Sage Kimzey.
Yep.
And by the way, what am I doing? Not picking Sage. I'm not doing this because I think one person rides better than the other. I'm doing this because I think Josh Frost is such an exemplary human being that would stop and do anything for you and expect nothing in return. That's why I'm picking him.
Well, and we're just having fun here anyway.
Yeah.
Greg?
Orrin Larson.
Ah, interesting.
Yep.
That's the longest-legged bareback rider. Like, if you can't see his feet moving.
Yeah, it's him. He's coming off the Canadian National Finals, and I think he's doing good. I've always been a fan of his, and I always think he's a solid rider.
I think the first time I saw him, I was with my boys at the college finals, and I think Orrin and my son Taylor were maybe college champs the same year. He just came off a huge injury, right?
I think so, yeah.
I think so, and came back strong.
Yeah.
He's come back very strong.
That's cool.
Yeah, he came back very strong.
And another great human.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's humble. You always, and that it's not that I don't want to see the arrogant ones lose, but it makes you feel better when the quiet achievers kick their butts, right?
It's fun.
So it's fun. Well, we're going to wrap it up for today. Any final thoughts? Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up. We're going to go head our ways, and I'll be heading out to the fan zone. If you haven't before, jump on a bus early. Come out early. There are backyard games. You can play beer pong and,
cornhole.
You can't cornhole.
That's the worst named game I've ever heard of.
What, cornhole?
Seriously?
It sounds like Iowa. Forget it.
No, it sounds like Arkansas. It sounds like Deliverance.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, cornhole people, they're serious about their bags. And I remember when I ordered the cornhole to come here, I'm like, I'm probably going to get complaints that this isn't the right kind of cornhole fabric. But anyway, and there's now 4 big screens in the fan zone. You can come down there, be in the Coors tent if you don't have tickets, watch the NFR in the fan zone, and get on a Heston tractor. There's the Polaris activations. So head down there early if you don't. Make a trip down there. It's worth it. And join us at the fan zone. And praise God, here we go. We're kicking off this year's NFR, and we will see all of you tomorrow for No Spin Rodeo. Thanks for being with us. Be blessed, be safe, and have some fun. Talk to you later.